How many times will the X-Men ask themselves the question, how far would you go to stop an apocalypse? Greetings, fellow systematic geeks. We are here for another comic book catch-up episode. I'm joined by three lovely colleagues, and we are going to be talking comic books, mainly X-Men Age of Revelation, but also whatever other things are on the shelf that have caught our attention. And we're glad that you are here to be with us on this journey. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you are watching live, give us a shout out of where you're watching live from so we can say hey. And while we're doing that, the folks who are here with me, starting with, we'll go with Christian. How are you doing today, Christian?
Doing all right. How about you, Andy?
Doing fine, thanks. TJ, how are you?
Great. Having a good one.
Excellent. And Will?
Oh, I'm fantastic. And your little title underneath your name, Age of 2 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, is fantastic. That's bringing me joy right now, Andy. And I can't wait to talk about some comics.
Alrighty. Well, I am very happy to bring you joy. Hopefully we'll bring some joy to our listeners as well, because they bring us joy by liking and subscribing to our videos, to our podcast, and by bringing us financial support through the link that you can find in the episode description. Will, you're always on the hook for if a video gets 50 likes, a single video gets 50 or more likes, you're going to do something outrageous. What is the current menu offering for outrageousness?
I saw like a little video of somebody doing this in New York, and I think what I'll do is I'll dress in like a silver leotard, just a onesie, and I'll get on my skateboard and I'll push around in crowds and go, "Your world is doomed. Mark the way of a Galactus." I will do that. I will wear a silver leotard and get on a skateboard and tell people that the world is doomed.
That's you're gonna do that. You're gonna do that in Chapel Hill, or?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, oh, here goes Crazy Will from that church.
Yep, the Silver Surfer, Will Rose, is ready to do it. Yep, that's what I will do if it gets 50 likes. If this particular live stream gets 50 likes, I will for sure do that and record it.
All right, so you heard that here, folks. Go ahead and open up those 50 fake accounts, like this video from each one, and it'll happen.
Christian's got time. Christian will do it. Let's do it. Yeah, 50 likes from Christian.
Excellent. So thanks again to folks who are watching and subscribing. And yeah, we would invite you, if you would also like to be a part of that, to check out the link in the description and provide some financial support for us. And hopefully one day in the future, someone will take advantage of the opportunity to recommend a comic that we discuss on one of these episodes. The first time I attempted this, I missed that until minutes before the show, so we didn't give people the opportunity. This time, I was like nearly 24 hours in advance. Maybe next time, 2 days, 3 days, the sky's the limit. But
I think it was 22 hours and 45 minutes.
I think you're right about that.
Constantly improving.
Yeah, so there's the only way forward is up, or something like that. We can only go up from here. So look forward to future opportunities if you are one of those members to suggest a comic that we can talk about. But we've got lots of comics to talk about this time anyway. Before we get into the meat of X-Men Age of Revelation and any other comics that you want to discuss in depth, you gentlemen, let's have a lightning round and see just sort of what quick hits we've got for comics on the shelves these days. We'll go backwards this time. Will, I know you had some things lined up, so what do you want to talk about in the lightning round?
I'm loving my pull list right now. Like I am looking forward to every Wednesday. I mean, there's some comics I collect just out of habit. And sometimes X-Men falls into that category. But right now I'm really loving the DC KO event that's happening right now, and all the tie-ins and the battles and how this is shaping up. And I'm really invested to see who's going to win at the end, who's going to be the last one standing, and how is this going to shape the DC universe. I'm as DC has their tagline, I'm all in with this. So pretty excited. I'm also loving Batman's kind of semi relaunch with Matt Fraction and is it Hugh Jimenez? Is that how you say his name? George?
Just Jimenez.
Jimenez. Fantastic. The latest episode, issue number 5 with like a car chase and Bruce Wayne and his maybe a date night is new love interest. The art is absolutely dynamic and fantastic, and loving that book. And then there's a book called Escape by Rick Remender and Daniel Acuna. I think that's how you say his last name. And it's a anthropomorphized animal, World War II, World War One, dogs versus bats, and the art is peak comics. I mean, it's like the standard, World War II fighter bomber pilot who plane crashes and he's the only one across enemy lines who has to survive. He has to figure out what's happening next, and using animals and dogs versus bats kind of helps break down the wall of just another war story. But the art is about as good as you can get in comics. So I'm really loving this book. The story lined is just a standard world war combat war story, but just for the art itself and the pacing of the plot is pretty outstanding. And I have to say Thor. I'm reading Thor as one of the hosts of Across the Bifrost. Al Ewing is weaving a cool little story over there. I don't know how many people are listening to this, but we might be able to talk with Al Ewing himself on Across the Bifrost. Shh. Maybe that'll come out. We'll see what happens. Don't want to jinx it. Maybe it's this upcoming week. We'll see what happens.
Well, that is very cool. I will second Batman with Matt Fraction and Jimenez and Jorge Jimenez. And yeah, TJ, what kind of lightning round picks do you have for us?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna go in depth with absolute Superman, Green Lantern, or Batman. They're all good. Arc M, like the special M release, a little bit more background on what Arc M is like in the absolute Batman universe. It's cool, but it's not as cool as like the normal absolute Batman issues. Just gives us a little taste of what's to come. It's still good. It's still a really interesting story. I still love the style. Other than that, I read this week they finally released the second part of the Ghost Ships of Labrador, Hellboy and the RPPD. Great little 2-issue, little story, little Hellboy story for you. It's cool. It's got some fun stuff. It's really short. I hate it. Like I wish it was much longer. But it's fun. You get some Abe Sapien, you get some Agatha Blunt, you get some Hellboy messing with ghosts. It's a fun time.
Excellent. And Christian, what do you got for us?
Well, I guess I'll third Batman 5. I'm really enjoying the Fraction run so far. It's been really fun. It's not like bogged down by continuity, but it's also like bringing in some stuff that from like older Batman and Detective Comics, so that's been good. I'll also say Phantom 4 came out recently, and I love the Phantom. There's some interesting changes they made to some of the lore. I mean, nothing like groundbreaking or anything like that, but enjoyable stuff. And I'm also surprisingly liking Joe Kelly's Amazing Spider-Man to an extent. It hasn't fixed all the things it needs to fix, don't get me wrong, but it's still way better than the Wells run, which it doesn't take much, but I will take this.
All right, high praise. And yeah, I will mention, I've talked about before, I'm kind of getting caught up on the current Star Trek comics, and I will just throw out there that I was reading the Star Trek Defiant, and New Jersey caught some strays from the 24th century, and that was a bit surprising as a son of New Jersey to see that aliens who have never been on Earth are still making jokes about New Jersey. Several hundred years in the future. So that was both refreshing and a bit irksome. And
yeah, I love like just a New Jersey dig like I've never been to New York, I've never been to New Jersey. I still think it's really funny every time.
That's funny.
And I've been reading Fantastic Four and One World Under Doom and all that on Unlimited, so I'm a little bit behind. But the relaunched Fantastic Four that started with a new #1, where they are solving the Fantastic Four part of things. They can't solve the whole One World Under Doom situation because that's obviously for the main book of that title. but they are addressing some of the side quests. And in true Ryan North fashion, we got a computer science solution to a comic book problem, and I loved it. So I just want to shout that out.
It's really good. I echo that. One more. I just want to bring out one more. Kevin and I just interviewed Robert Vendetti and talking about his work, but also a new comic he has out with Bad Idea called Ordained. And we talk about all the time about sometimes religious leaders are stereotyped as being the freak or bad or just a villain. But it seems like this particular one, a Catholic priest, isn't necessarily a villain or unhinged or an enemy or makes you cringe, uncomfortable. He may be the hero at the end of the day of this one. But it's like John Wick, Wake Up Dead Man merged together, and the first issue is really fun. So I highly recommend that one, and I'll be following all the way through. And it's already, as we shared on that YouTube video with Vendetti, that it may be picked up as a movie or a TV show at some point in the near future, which I think would be rad.
Very cool. All right, well, that's end of the lightning round. So Will and I came here to talk about X-Men: Age of Revelation and its sprawling expansiveness, but perhaps since that can go on at length, if Christian, if you or TJ have other books that you wanted to talk about, why don't we start with those so that they get their due as well?
Yeah, Christian, do you have one?
I assumed this was Age of Revelation only, so that's why I popped on.
Cool.
Okay, that's fine too. But
I have one.
All right.
I'm all ears.
Killtopia, written by Dave Cook, art by Craig Patton. It is, I know it's a crazy name, right? But just finished at the end of the year. It is gorgeous, kind of like Thunderdome, cyberpunk world. It's 5 issues. It's super fun. It's super colorful. Well, it's as fun as like cyberpunk dystopias can be. But the art in the series is phenomenal. It's gorgeous, like the bright neon colors on every page. It's so fun to look at, and it's a cyberpunk story, so it gets rough, and you really fall in love with the characters over the 5 issues. But it's so hard to find good cyberpunk content these days. You pretty much have Cyberpunk 2077, the video game, which is not everybody's cup of tea. It's great though, especially after Phantom Liberty. That's a great game. You have Citizen Sleeper, another good little game franchise that's out. It's a lot less popular. And you have like Shadowrun, the old Shadowrun games for good cyberpunk aesthetics. They're really hard to find in ways that are engaging, and I think Killtopia nails it, and it just deserves to be talked about a little bit. It's full of like fun little gags, just like your general cyberpunk goofiness of just wanton hedonism.
That's some heavy metal band name if I've ever heard one. TJ, what venue is this on? Is this digital? Is it like a who?
I'm reading it digitally. I know it's published by Penguin. But I'm reading it digitally.
That's what it's called?
Killtopia, yeah.
I'm writing it down. Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna buy the omnibus just to have it because the art is so beautiful. Like I kind of want to just hang the book on the wall and flip through it every couple of days. Have something else up there, you know.
Okay.
But it's good. I need to revisit it again and reread like everything. I read issue 5, and I think it's a good resolution. I just need to get back to it because it took a couple of years to get all these out. But
who's the creative team again, TJ? Sorry.
Dave Cook and Craig Patton.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they knock it out of the park. It's over the top, schlocky, but the story there is real, and it's very good. So definitely check it out if you can handle a small amount of gratuitous violence.
Yeah.
I
hope we
all
all
can.
Yeah,
that's it. Let's talk about X-Men: Age of Revelations.
Yeah.
All right. So, by way of introduction, X-Men Age of Revelation is the latest X-Men crossover, the latest X-Men alternate universe, future, etc. This one is it's celebrating in honor of the 30th anniversary of Age of Apocalypse, the popular crossover from the 90s. Poor Christian is just now being confronted with the fact that that event occurred 30 years ago, I believe. In real time, we watched a man age.
1995.
Yeah, good year.
So that was a famous event in which all the X-Men books were quote unquote canceled and relaunched with new titles and new lineups, taking place in a parallel universe in which in the past Charles Xavier had been murdered and Magneto kind of stepped up and took his place because at the time of Xavier's murder that was in the past where they were working together, and so Magneto takes his place, but Apocalypse is able to kind of take over the world, and so he's running the world. It's kind of one world under Apocalypse, if you want to think of it that way. So there were four months of the X books publishing in this alternate universe. Nobody knew how long it was going to go on, how if we would ever get back to the regular universe, because this was before the internet and before you could look up solicitations that were published 3 months in advance. Those things existed, but they weren't readily available to the average reader. So unless you were subscribed to Wizard magazine, you didn't really know what the future was going to bring. You were just reading the books as they came out.
R.I.P. Wizard. Another casualty of internet.
Age me again, Andy. Sure.
Yeah, R.I.P. Wizard.
Never even heard of it.
Oh
my!
Go back.
Oh my!
Reason back issues.
All right. So moving right along. Fast forward 30 years. To celebrate that, we did a similar thing. All the
quick,
X-books
Andy.
are canceled.
Real quick, Andy. Let me just say, I was an avid comic book collector until the early 90s. And then I kind of dropped out for a little while just because I was college, seminary, blah, blah, blah. But then when the movies started coming out, the X-Men movies and the Spider-Man movies and Sony Universe started happening. And then Cindy, my first Father's Day, bought me a comic book and said, "Hey, be a kid again," and bought me an X-Men comic. And it just opened the floodgates. And I jumped back into comics in the early 2000s. And so I missed the Age of Apocalypse. And so I remember going into my comic shop down in Florida, my first church, and I was like, "Hey, where do I start? I'm a big X-Men fan. Where do I jump in?" He's like, "So you missed all the Age of Apocalypse?" And I said, "I think so." And he goes, "You didn't miss much. Here, jump in to astonishing X-Men." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And I couldn't have been better. So I skipped all of it. And one of these days I want to read all of it, but I've tried to look into it, but it'll be a big investment to try to read all of Age of Apocalypse. I know the lore, I know the storyline, but in terms of the individual comics, I that's a gap in my comic book collecting. And so here I get to relive it again with Age of Revelation. Now I know what they. So anyway, keep going. I had to share that little backstory of my personal. Christian, did you collect Age of Apocalypse at the day? Did you read all of them?
No, Dad stopped in the early 90s too, so I read mine in trades way later on. But outside of what they covered in the animated series, which isn't the same, but enough.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And this was before TJ was born, so anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still reading Age of Apocalypse. So I was there. I was on the front lines when it was happening. I was reading the books month by month. Did not know what was coming afterwards.
And there were events. There were X-Men events and crossover events before this.
Yes.
Days of Future Past, 2-issue futuristic comic that Chris Claremont did within the actual Uncanny X-Men run, right? And then when X-Men became more and more popular, they were like, we got to have these crossover events. It became more X-Men titles. We got to find a way to tie all these in and get people to buy more X books. So the conspiracy theorist in me, the capitalist agenda behind this, we want you to buy more X titles. I totally get it. They want to sell books. They're there to make money. But the crossover events were really a thing with X-Men for the late 80s, 90s, and then Age of Apocalypse was peak 90s comics crossover events.
Yeah, I think that might have been the most maximalist of the 90s crossovers, because it was every title, 4 issues. And so, somebody like me who was reading X Factor Peter David's original X Factor run and the two main Uncanny and Adjectiveless X-Men titles. Like, it was a lot to it was daunting to try to figure out what was going on across all those other books.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that many. It was as much as we got in Age of Revelation. So
No.
again, line-wide canceling, relaunching of a bunch of miniseries and additional miniseries that didn't have an analog, and so there were a total of 16 3-issue miniseries for 48 issues total, plus a start and end one-shot, an overture, and a finale. The issue 0 that came out a couple months early, and a one-shot World of Revelation. So that's how I got 52 issues. But apparently they also wanted to be a DC homage.
I was just about to make the joke.
So what all is about? So we jump forward 10 years into the future in a world where Doug Ramsey, who was recently named the Heir of Apocalypse in the eponymous X-Men Heir of Apocalypse miniseries, has taken over not the entire world, but much of North America. A virus is spreading, turning some humans into mutants, turning some mutants into even more mutated mutants, killing lots of humans and mutants, and turning the land into a place that is only hospitable to mutants. And that virus is spreading, and so the land that's only hospitable to mutants is spreading. So we get some miniseries set in there, some miniseries set on the outside of that world, like The Last Wolverine takes place in Vancouver, which is outside of the sphere of the virus. And present day Cyclops gets pulled into this 10-year ahead future to try to help them resolve the situation with Doug Ramsey to end the tyranny of Doug Ramsey. While 10 years in the future, Cyclops comes into the present day to carry out a secret mission that we don't learn about in any of those 52 issues, except by hints and innuendo. And all this comes out of Jed MacKay's X-Men title. It is really kind of it's a story that was going on there, and it's essentially a sprawling extended version of what was going on in his book. So that's the premise. Which of those books were you guys reading, and what did you think of the experience overall?
Yeah, real fast. Like Days of Future Past, right? Like that was, and we talk about like this was Kitty Pryde being like pulled into the future to be able to see what the future was like, and then being pulled back. Is that part of? Remind me. Like it's been a while since I've read it, and I'm just trying to think of.
Right. So the premise of Days of Future Past was to send
Yeah.
future Kitty into present day Kitty's body to warn them about a
possible future,
an apocalyptic possible future, and the inciting event that launched it to try to stop that event.
Right. So which was I think it was what's the word I'm looking for? Like it was revolutionary in terms of what Chris Claremont did, and I think it was even predated like Terminator. Like Terminator even like played off what he did with Days of Future Past. Like I don't know what came first, but it seems like Chris Claremont did this futuristic story that revolutionized what the future could be like for these mutants, with Kitty Pryde mind swapping to the future and back. And then Age of Apocalypse, the premise was that Legion accidentally killed the wrong person, not Magneto, but Professor X 10 years earlier before. And so it set this timeline, a different timeline, because of this kind of 10-year gap. So the Age of Revelation with the anniversary and then pushing to 10 years into the future, mind swapping, plays like this kind of X-Men trope of mind swapping or futuristic ways to look what the possible future could be like if we don't do something about evil mutants or humans racism towards mutants or prejudice towards mutants. If we don't do something and fix this, then the future could be pretty bleak if we don't do something about this. So I like these kind of stories. I like these kind of apocalyptic revelation kind of stories of cautionary tales of what things could be like. So I was really cool with this. But when someone who collects X-Men, loves X-Men, first love of comics is X-Men, and then I see there's like, as you said, like 18 books I need to buy to do this. I was like, what are we doing, Marvel? So with the um From the Ashes relaunch after Krakoa, I wasn't buying all the issues, but I was buying mainly X-Men adjective lists and a couple others here and there. And so if you're going to do a crossover, we're going to get me to buy more books, then why not do it within the books that are already out there and kind of draw me in rather than canceling them all and then do it 18. So I was a little disheartened that they were jumping right into that right after a relaunch from the Ashes and kind of new books. So I was like, Marvel, what are we doing? But you have me. My first love is X-Men. So I bought the kind of the main books, and then what did I get? Man, I think I only got Amazing X-Men Extrapolate. Is that what it is? Expatriate.
The Expatriate X-Men, the e-viewing book.
Yeah. Yep. And then World of Revelation. So I really got kind of the main storyline and a couple others. And what was the book that had Kitty Pryde as just a ghost, as like vapor?
That was the Book of Revelation.
Yeah, Book of Revelation. I got that one. So there's only a handful, and then to be honest, after it concluded, and then I jumped back into X-Men 23 that came out this past week. I was like, that was the best book I've read in a long time. X-Men 23, because it explained everything that I missed in the whole main event of all these like million books.
So I need that one.
Just read X-Men 23, Legacy number 323, and you'll it just hops right back in. So that's where I am. Andy,
Oh yeah,
and Christian.
Days of Future Past beat the Terminator by 3 years.
Yeah. So yes. I thanks, Chris Claremont. You paved the way. You paved the way. Trailblazer.
Well, but then he ripped off Alien for the Brood Saga, so it goes both ways.
Everything's fair. I don't have money because jobless outside of substitute teaching every now and then. But I have a friend who is very nice and allows me to read his comics. And the ones he collected that I were able to read were Amazing X-Men, Long Shots, Iron and Frost, Sinister Six, Unbreakable X-Men, Last Wolverine, Radioactive Spider-Man, Cloaker Dagger, Undead Pool, and the X-Vengers.
Wow.
So you may notice he doesn't read a lot of female-led titles. That's a little on him.
Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say overall I enjoyed what I read. Were you able to get to everything, Andy?
So I was following the Jen McKay books, Amazing and Book of Revelation, and the one shots. I kept up with the Gail Simone Unbreakable X-Men because Uncanny was really good. I looked at Long Shots because I was so fond of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men. That was a left turn.
Yeah.
And Sinister's 6 intrigued me, and I've been into Mr. Sinister as interpreted by Kieran Gillen, so I wanted to check that out. That was a little bit more on point, and then I was keeping up with things. Paul O'Brien's X-Axis annotated. He annotates a lot of the ongoing books, and then does little capsule reviews of all the books. So I was kind of keeping up with what was going on in some of the other titles in that fashion. And I'll probably catch up with a lot of them on Unlimited in the months to come. They just started this past week as well. Yeah. But it really did feel like a lot. I mean, some of them weren't even taking place in the same time period.
No.
Long Shots nominally is, but it might as well have been in outer space.
Whenever.
And arguably it is, whenever, wherever, whomever. And then, the way that it's structured such that, the issue that just came out that Will mentioned, 23, picks up right after the previous issue of X-Men 22 and tells the story of what's going on in the present day. It really just leaves you with the impression that the whole thing was a cul-de-sac that could be, cordoned
The
off.
whole thing
And
was a cul-de-sac. I love that phrase so much.
Yeah,
you know, and I
Oh
feel bad.
man.
It's not to say that the reading experience was all, you know, wasn't enjoyable. That there weren't
Right.
you know, some
It
good
was
books there, but man, does it makes it hard to when, well, I'll put it this way: when so much of the marketing around these books, around the DC and Marvel books, is, you know, you need to read these books because it matters, because there's this ongoing story that you want to keep up with. When you then say, well, none of these things happened, right? That it's hard to not to get the impression, oh well, then it doesn't really matter. And I know that's not actually how stories work, but it it's
you
hard
still
to
feel it.
shake off that feeling.
I think it's interesting the way Marvel treats the X-Men, just lately, because, you know, they weren't in the MCU because of Sony and whatever. That was a or
Right.
Fox. That was the whole thing.
Mhm.
But then when Marvel's doing really well in other facets, they're still not including the X-Men. So, like, except for X-Men 97, the only way you could get, like, current X-Men content was through the comics. Even Marvel Rivals has made, like, just random Marvel heroes super popular again. Just because it's a really fun hero shooter game. And the only X-Men in the game is Wolverine.
Really?
Emma's in there, isn't she?
Emma Frost now, yeah. Emma Frost is in there
And
now. I did forget
and
that.
Rogue
I
and
hate
Gambit.
her. And Gambit's and Rogue now. Now, as of like a month ago, Gambit and Rogue are in the game.
Yeah.
But the game's over a year old.
So it didn't start with them, is your point.
Yeah.
Outside of course, the number one, Wolverine.
Wolverine, that's it. It took them like 6 months to add Emma Frost. Rogue and Gambit got added 1 month ago. The game came
Where's-
out January
Cyclops?
2025.
Mhm.
Or maybe 2024. That, like, later that I don't remember when it came out. But the point is, Marvel just doesn't seem to care a whole lot about the X-Men, which is crazy.
Not
It
as
was
bad
their-
when what's his name was in charge. Was it Perlmutter or whatever? And they were all trying to like downplay the X-Men because they weren't in the MCU.
Yeah.
And tried to uplift the Inhumans instead.
True. And it was their flagship, like with Age of Apocalypse in the 90s and then the early 2000s. So it is interesting in terms of what they capitalized. Just to shift a little bit, like, yeah, all these titles, all this stuff, like in terms of like the stories that you can tell about with the mutants, right? So there's like four stories. There's like the like human supremacist group that's going to oppress the mutants is a big story. Then you have like a futuristic story. Then you have like a Magneto supervillain story, and then maybe like a romance baseball. We all play baseball together story. So there's like four big stories that you can tell
Love those.
with X-Men, right? So, but in terms of Doug Ramsey being Cypher, somewhat lame new mutant who's just like he's an interpreter. He knows language. His mutant power, he knows language, but to level him up with Apocalypse to be like he's almost like Purple Man, where he can take away your ability to speak or power of suggestion or whatever. To level him up as an heir to Apocalypse is a pretty cool, pretty neat thing that you can do with a mutant. Is how you're going to level up these mutants and their powers to make them an omega level mutant. And as Revelation, the heir of Apocalypse is pretty cool. They did that with Angel, right? Like he was one of the four horsemen of Apocalypse. He was just a mutant with wings who could fly. He was an angel, and then they like made him like super metal with literally metal wings and like Archangel, and so they leveled him up in the Age of Apocalypse. But Cypher turned Revelation supervillain, the potential of what he could be in the future with his power, I think is a cool, neat plot story thread to play around with. I was disappointed of how they spread it so thin. And then, as you said, Andy, the cul-de-sac of just back to X-Men 23 of this could be a possible future. We're just back to way normal, but it does leave it at the end of that comic. This is a possible future that could happen. So what do you guys think, Andy and Christian, like leveling up Cypher, Doug Ramsey, who quote unquote, just my interpretation, somewhat lame mutant who are power. Yeah, if I'm picking at superpowers that I want to have, like I'm kind of skipping over him a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
go with
choosing
the
the one
other.
to be replaced
I'm
by
not.
my phone.
Yeah, I can talk to computers. Cool. Like, but like, but to level him up to the what he was 10 years later, I think is kind of cool. The storyline's potential. I like him as a character. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, for Cypher, it's one of those, his mutant ability is to understand other languages. And eventually that has become a semantic superpower because the writers kind of realized along the way, different writers coming in, it's like, well, okay, but like he's in a fighting up, fight him, beat him up, team up book here with other mutants. Like, what is he going to do? Is he going to like talk to someone in French and make him surrender? Like, what's going on?
He speaks the language
Yeah.
of violence.
So it moved to things like, oh, now he knows the language of body language. It became like of a semantic superpower, and then computer language and stuff like that. So like him winning the will of Apocalypse to become his heir, I was like, okay, that's an interesting idea. I want to see what they do with it, and this is what they did with it, and it made him a huge threat because you can see why he went down the way he did. I don't know if I would say it's entirely in character for Doug to do this, but yeah, there's been a 10-year gap, so many crazy things could have happened along the way. And at this current point, with the revelation, sorry, that was unintentional. That future Cyclops is in the past, um, and now Doug is still was going to join the X-Men, it now isn't, and now has been told something wonky's happening with you, and he's already had this plan in motion. Like, what is he going to do with it now? I'm curious to see where they go with that.
Yeah, it does feel like the most interesting story is hopefully yet to come, in that uh, presenting Doug with this image of himself and what he could be, and what could result from his leveling up. And is that what he wants, right? What does he want now that he is the heir of Apocalypse? Was the most interesting question coming out of that miniseries a year or plus ago, and I think it's still the most interesting question. And I feel like it's a little bit unfortunate that we went through this whole big crossover and didn't that was missing, right? With all the time travel elements, Doug Ramsey stayed in the present and in the future. Like there was no crossing of the timelines that way, to give present day Doug Ramsey an opportunity to see for himself what future Doug Ramsey uh, is up to, and to ask the question, is this actually what you want? Perhaps to get overly scriptural, right? Temptation of Jesus style, right? He puts him,
Yeah.
put him in that position of you have this opportunity. Is that what you're going to take advantage of? But so far we haven't seen that, and it's unclear if we will or not. But yeah, the question of, oh, should we kill him knowing that he might be bad in the future? That has been done so many times, including, I mean, that was literally the opening arc of Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force years ago. There was an heir of Apocalypse, a young clone of Apocalypse, and
Right.
they
Baby
had the
Apocalypse.
opportunity to
Would
kill
you kill Baby
Apocalypse.
Hitler?
Right? Would you kill?
Would you kill
Right? Would
Baby
you kill
Hitler
Baby?
or Baby Apocalypse? What would you
Exactly.
do?
Oh
Right.
my
We
gosh.
we did that.
Uh-huh.
But that was a present day story with present day ramifications, and yeah. So we've kind of already done that riff on, would you go back in time and uh, kill somebody if you knew that they were going to do bad things in the future? We also have this wrinkle of, in the Age of Revelation future, Magneto doesn't have whatever the uh, post resurrection mutant power glitch thing that he has in present day Jed McKay X-Men, that they've clearly hung a lampshade on, that this is a plot point and not a plot mistake or a plot hole. And so, are there more time shenanigans to come? But it at the
Mm.
as it stands now, it just kind of further creates the impression of, well, maybe this isn't really the actual timeline that we're in. Like, this isn't the actual future that is going to happen. And so, yeah, you can't make that, the moral justification, any moral justification that there might be for taking such an extreme measure, goes completely out the window if you don't have that certainty that that is how events are going to unfold. And maybe that's where the story that's the story they want to tell. But again, we haven't gotten that far yet, and we just spent a lot of time uh, on this subject to kind of only get the first half or the first third of the story.
And there's also the huge revelation too that the beast that went into the future isn't our, the beast. Oh, God help me, the beast of the clone of like the New Defenders era beast, who is not the one who ended up becoming evil, because I really hate that arc anyways. And now that's the one who's in control of, was it 3K or whatever the heck the new organization is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And people
Yeah.
wonder why, like my friend Ryan Does of Across the Bifrost is like, I really want to jump in the X-Men. I don't know where to start. It's all confusing. And people wonder why why there's no jumping on points. I literally, I am pretty steeped in X-Men comics. I feel like I know. I feel like I don't have a PhD level X-Men knowledge, but I have like a master's degree. But like I had to text Andy and go, what the hell is going on? Who was this beast, the future beast? He's like, remember Age of Croa and remember this one? And I was like, oh yeah. So yeah, Andy, help us out here. Who is this beast? I literally had to text you and ask questions, and I feel like I'm reading X-Men comics and know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. So just for context, there is a podcast called Explain the X-Men that is going through and addressing exactly this issue. They are over 500 episodes, and they are only just getting into the 2000s. They will be hitting the Grant Morrison new X-Men in the coming weeks.
Oh wow.
Which has an evil beast.
Right.
Beast in that run. Yes, it does.
And for those of you doing the math at home, they have actually slowed down to the point where their coverage is slower than real time. So they're covering fewer issues per month than were released by Marvel each month. And they're 25 years behind. So they will only they're getting exponentially behind in coverage. They will never catch up to the present day. Just explaining comics that you could also,
no hope,
you also
Ryan.
have to read.
There's no hope. If you're listening to this, no hope, buddy. Sorry.
And that's, I don't know if you guys have ever engaged with the like manga versus comics discourse over the past like 6-7 years.
Okay.
But manga is growing at such a high rate compared to comics. And it's because if someone says, hey, where should I start reading Dragon Ball? You can say, chapter 1.
Right.
Dragon Ball, chapter 1.
And
that's where you start.
Eventually that story will end.
Yeah, that story ends. Goku dies, actually, a couple of times, and they ignore that. But
yeah,
no, but Dragon Ball's a bad example because there's still other projects.
It is a bad example.
But other
that's
stuff,
such a big part of it.
Yes,
that's such a big part of it. Is whenever you're trying to get into a comic book, you just kind of have to guess.
And that's why I do like the reboots and the new number ones and the legacy numbers. They go hand in hand. Like Thor's done this a couple of times. I joke on Across the Bifrost that I'm like, oh, Thor number 4, but legacy number 789. And even X-Men has it too, 23. And so I don't mind these reboots of a new story arc, but then legacy numbers to help you with that. But yeah, like where do you start? Where do you begin? How do you jump in and find a certain arc is jumping on point.
Yep.
Man.
So you asked about 3K and Beast, right? So in the Age of Krakoa, the last big X-Men relaunch, just timed conveniently just before the worldwide pandemic, as any marketing person would love to have happen for them, and arguably a time when the X-Men, when Marvel really was making the X-Men the biggest book that they were pushing, putting their top writers on, putting their top artists on. So we had all that during the Krakoa era, as it is known. Hank McCoy broke bad or broke worse, depending on your point of view. They put him in charge of essentially the CIA for this mutant nation of Krakoa, and the power went to his head, the paranoia went to his head, and he made all of the moral compromises that you would associate with a story about being the person who has to make the hard choices to keep so that everybody else can sleep well at night, kind of story. And so he becomes the supervillain, complete with volcano lair and the whole 9 yards. And at the end of that story, he apparently is killed, but he has so there's the whole resurrection thing that the X-Men can be resurrected by they can clone new bodies essentially, and then restore their memories from a computer backup, more or less. And so they have a computer backup of Henry McCoy the Beast, but it's from the 80s, our chronology. It's from the time when he was the bouncing blue beast on the Avengers. He was best friends with Wonder Man, soon to be appearing.
All my stars and garters.
Exactly, as catchphrase was "Oh my stars and garters," and what was the other?
Right before
Buzz
they ended
Ant.
New Defenders, right before X Factor started.
Yeah. So a very different
beast.
Yes, a very different beast, a very optimistic, happy-go-lucky, friends with a movie star guy, and not a supervillain. So we think that the evil beast is dead, and the beast that we have now is the happy beast who doesn't remember anything that happened after 1985, our time. 6 weeks ago, sliding timeline time.
I love it so
And
much.
so
I love
that's
comics.
how we come into From the Ashes, the post Krakoa relaunch, and Beast is starring in Jed McKay's X-Men, and the main sort of looming big bads of Jed McKay's X-Men are this shadow cabal called 3K with 4 or 5 members, none of whom are identified to begin with. Eventually, we learn that Cassandra Nova is one of them, and we learn that. Astra, right, is one of them, and with her comes her clone of Magneto, Joseph, but this is like Joseph the Fourth or something like that. And
if someone
it all
out of
seems
context
fine
heard
when
this
I'm
all,
reading
we'd all
this.
be sent to a mental hospital.
It all seems fine when I'm reading it, but when I say it out loud in summary form,
I know.
These are the
maybe-
ravings of admin.
Maybe
TJ,
Chris
do you know who
Claremont
Joseph
made a
the Fourth
horrible
is?
mistake.
maybe someone needs to go back in time and stop Chris Claremont.
Yeah.
No, please write that comic. Oh, I'll help Andy write that.
So unfortunately, they've kind of already done that gag at the end of Deadpool 2. But anyway,
Oh
That's
yeah.
right.
They've been revealing members of the Shadow Cabal, but the leader, the chairman, has remained under mask and in the shadows. We didn't know who he was, but at the end of Age of Revelation, we discover that they were supposed to bring Cyclops and Beast into this 10 years into the future and send Beast and Cyclops back. But all through the event, there was kind of the sense that this seems like Beast, but not Beast. And so what's going on there? And what we eventually figure out is that it was the Beast, but it was the mind of the evil Beast, the evil villain, supervillain Beast, who had actually hung around and had inserted his consciousness, or arranged for his consciousness to be put into this new body that didn't look anything like him, which is why we didn't recognize him even with the mask on. And so it was his mind that was brought 10 years into the future, and so now he's come back to the present day in the body of this chairman of the 3K figure, with knowledge of the Age of Revelation, knowledge of this virus that turns people into mutants and gives control over the world or whatever. And he's like, oh, maybe this is a good idea. So yeah, again, very much.
TJ, do you have all that? Are you ready?
But
Are you
which-
no, I'm just.
To be
you take
fair, this is a better reveal than making it Dark Beast again. Than the last couple times this has happened. It's like, oh, Beast is acting out of character because Dark Beast took him and like is taking his place. Because we have to bring the Age of Apocalypse into things again.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
But
Dark
my
Beast
thing
for
was
those.
like another big face mask helmet that Hickman starts. Like, I don't know why Hickman loves these big like helmet face mask things, but I'm like, who is this? Professor X? Is this whatever? That's why I was texting Andy. And again, folks, if you have 50 likes on this video, I will dress up as Silver Surfer and I will ride through Chapel Hill, screaming, "Your world is doomed!" The Herald of Galactus is coming. So anyway,
and that
if
will
you're
seem like
following
a
all
more,
this and you're still here, 50 likes.
and that will seem like a more sane activity than the conversation that we've just had.
And you know what, Will, you'll be treated better than the current Norrin Rad is right now in the comics.
Yeah, I know I'm ready to read X-Men 23.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Legacy
Yes,
number 323. 23, the number of the goat. Let's do it.
Yeah. So how do we land this plane? As fun as this conversation has been, and as perhaps frustrating as it might be for those who feel like we've only just scratched the surface, and we probably have. Um, we haven't even talked about the since we spoiled so many things. We might as well talk about the fact that it turns out that Doug Ramsey's whole big plan is to use this virus, which he created. There was a lot of uncertainty about that, but his whole big plan is to use this virus that he created to make there be enough mutants on Earth so that something he can merge them all into one big Gestalt consciousness and turn the Earth into a living planet, a la Ego.
Yes.
And so, and thus ending all of the strife and polarization, to coin a phrase, that is plaguing the world by uniting everyone in a single Gestalt mind.
Hence Pluribus, the plot for Pluribus. If you're watching Pluribus,
or
The full
Dead Space.
Evangelion.
yeah.
So they can go fight Ego. That's the plan.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
think they want to make friends with Ego because that they'll be two of a kind. There's
No.
the buddy team up
There can only
book
be
you
one.
didn't
Get that
know you
far.
wanted.
His name is Ego. He's not going to go for that.
Planet on Planet Crime
Yeah.
is what I really want.
Ego. It's going to be in the new spinoff series, Ego and Doug.
Ego
And then they can cross
Ego
over
and Doug.
with DC
Ego
and get
and-
Io involved.
Ego and Doug.
Or Oa involved.
That if you're gonna level up Cypher / Revelation / like you're gonna combine one hive mind communication thing, I think that's a natural way to go. So I don't mind that being the end game for Doug / Cypher / Revelation of one hive mind planet all on the same page communicating together, one big AI, hence Pluribus. TV show. Like I see that where the ultimate end game when it comes to that seemed like a reasonable thing. And then the X-Men wanting to stop that or be like, nope, he doesn't get to say who, as the ruler of all things. I understand that ultimate kind of plot line and try to stop that.
And it ties into Apocalypse's obsession with evolution and survival of the fittest because a feature of evolutionary history on Earth is what has been termed the major transitions, and what most, if not all, the major transitions are characterized by is previously independent entities coming together as a single entity and creating various new levels of hierarchy. So you go from individual genes or replicating RNAs, something like that, to cells, to multicellular organisms, to social organisms and ecologies and so forth. So it does, yeah. Thematically, there actually is a lot going on there that points to or ties into some interesting things, some real things. It just buried under slathered layers of comic book nonsense that make you sound silly when you summarize it. But yes, there are some themes there. There's of course all the end, does the end justify the means? How do you of what lengths can justify ending, or how traumatic does an event need to be to justify taking extreme measures to prevent it? How certain can you be about what's going to happen in the future? All those kinds of questions that the X-Men have been grappling with for decades.
Yeah, speaking
And
of,
that's why I love that Dr. Walsh can counterbalance Mr. Sinister. That's why I'm here. That's why.
Speaking of biology, did you see the news about the nitroplast, Andy? For anyone that
No, say
doesn't
more
know,
words.
We've discovered 2 new organelles within the last year. One is a nitrogen fixing organelle in some algae, some marine algae. The other one was like within the past couple of months that I'm not read up on. But crazy stuff. Who knows what that could turn into in a million years?
Yeah, this is exciting times to be a biologist, especially a microbiologist. We are learning how to probe all kinds of organisms that we didn't even know existed. There was a whole new, I wrote a blog article about this last month. There's a whole new species that really represents an entire new phylum or something above phylum in the tree of microbes. So yeah, lots of cool and exciting things going on in the world of biology. Perhaps a whole other podcast's worth of exciting things
But it's
happening in biology.
relevant because when we talk about like, fiction, comics, sci-fi stuff, like with mutation, evolution, apocalypse, revelation, like all those things, it does apply. So, which is why I love that Dr. Walsh is a lover of the X-Men and the Mere Mutants and can talk to that, like not just what's happened in the scientific world, but also in our speculative fiction when it comes to mutants and comics and humans and cautionary tales of what that looks like of a future.
Yeah, it's cool. It's because like a nitrogen fixing organelle is the kind of thing you need to justify like non-carbon life in some sci-fi series. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we can all, hopefully that we can move on from the cordyceps stories because we got a million of those. So yes,
enough with
please.
the
The next Atlantic article or whatever it is that launches 1,000 sci-fi stories. Let's onward and upward.
Nice.
Christian, you looked like you had something you wanted to chime in as well.
I was going back to Cypher, the actual plot of what we're talking about here.
Please.
Not that it's fascinating.
Yeah,
Because I like learning about that, especially with like how they break down everything that's they're dealing with. But I said earlier, I don't know if I could see him. I don't know if this is in character, but I think after the events of Krakoa and Hickman leaving and other people deciding to take the reins away, and it failing again, I think that Doug making the choice that he does here does make a little more sense to me in the sense of, well, if this is the repeat thing that's always going to happen, we try and band together. Oh, no, they genocide Genosha. Oh, we try and do this. Oh, no, they genocide Krakoa. Well, maybe we can end it all by just being one mind. And it kind of made me think of an old What If. I think it was actually the first one in the relaunch in the 80s, where I think it's, maybe it's not that one. It's what if the Avengers lost the Evolutionary War? And what happens as a result of that is like everyone becomes like a hive mind on Earth, mutants, humans, and they try to do the same thing throughout the entire, universe. So I can see where he's coming from there.
Yeah, that part didn't read to me as completely out of nowhere or as left field. And in fact, I kind of wish that we had understood that longer. I mean, that was kind of a last minute reveal in the final issue or the penultimate issue. I think it would have been. I think there were some interesting questions and interesting themes to unpack there that might have been more substantial than just kind of. I feel bad because I think I liked it more than it's sounding, but it in retrospect it felt like a lot of spinning of wheels to avoid giving away things that wanted to be a surprise at the end.
Yeah, I agree.
It simultaneously feels like not enough was shown, but a lot more was shown. I don't really know how to put that into words. Is like it feels like the worst of both worlds, but not like this is a bad comic. It's just there was more that could have been there to help build it up.
Yeah, I think it was to coin another phrase. It was like too little butter scraped over too much bread. We got a broad look at many different corners of the Age of Revelation, but very little depth to any of it. And I think
which is my plea. If Marvel is listening, editorial staff is listening, like if you do
52 more issues.
Yeah, if you do a crossover, just do like over 4 titles, not 18. Like I would have followed if you're to condense it, is really bloated, is across so many titles that you're trying to sell stuff. I love when these younger mutants are portrayed as like an older experience 30 years later, 10 years later. They have more experience, they're a little bit more mature. I like that speculation of what Miss Marvel could be or what Bronze could be later on, or the idea that Colossus is like old and rusty. Like, come on, that's fantastic. Let's do that. A cyber, like a different kind of arm, and like he's dealing with rust over his steel. Like, I like that kind of speculation of what could be in the future, and then you come back to the present, and then that maybe that's a possibility later on. Maybe introduce a new character here and there that was from the future that you could pull into a new mutant. But So I again, like I think the storyline, the plot, the characters are a neat idea. As you said, too little butter over too much crust, or whatever you just said. I don't know if I just quoted you right.
Well, I think I
Too much
mangled
bread.
Tolkien a little bit, and then you mangled a little bit more. So apologies all
I
around.
apologies all around, but
Um,
that's where I am. I love I love a futuristic Days of Future Past story, alternate timeline, mutants. But I just want it a little bit more condensed over across the books, selfishly over the ones that I'm already reading, so that I can follow the storyline a little better.
Isn't Colossus is osmium, right? Osmium
he
doesn't
sure
rust.
is, but also organic steel, but also
Yeah, okay,
ta-
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I guess it can rust. Is
right,
yeah, all right.
That was what they told. He
right,
was
Comics.
wrestling with that a little bit.
right. All right. Well, in the interest of respecting our listeners, Christian has one more point.
Okay. I will make this very short. I swear. The Iron and Frost was pretty good. That tie-in, because I actually really liked the Dugan run he had on Iron Man when he was helping out the X-Men, and he and Emma Frost were kind of having a will they won't they. It was a pairing I never thought would work, and it actually kind of did, and they built on more than that. My rant, Radioactive Spider-Man. I said I was liking Joe Kelly's run. I hated his Radioactive Spider-Man.
I didn't
You
read
know
that.
why?
Christian, what happened?
You know why? Because, once again, it's 6 arms. Oh, no, that's never happened before. Oh, it totally has. So that's his mutation. Whatever. He's married-ish to Cecilia Reyes. Okay, interesting decision. I can't be Mary Jane again because she'd get murdered in the comic by a mutant Aunt May who he has spent the last 10 years of his life trying to save. The old bag who should have croaked years ago and who did, but unfortunately it was just an actress hired by Norman Osborn, because comics. Is still alive, and that's the reason he's been acting like such a man-child in the 10-year future. I was like, when I was hearing this, like, oh, Spider-Man, X-Men, that works perfectly together, because if anyone knows what it's like to be hated and feared more than the X-Men, it's Spider-Man, for no good reason. So, like, let's get into that. Instead, we get a story about how a young boy still can't get over the fact that he has mommy issues. She comes back to life, and I make him grow up. Please, 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 please make him grow up. I'm done.
I can't wait to read that on Marvel Unlimited when it comes out right after the Spider-Man. I did not read that, but I will definitely read it now because of Christian and others. Yes.
I'm done.
All right. Well, we'll leave that as the final word so that we don't get accused of creating a crossover event that is too sprawling and too many issues to follow. Since we only talked about X-Men Age of Revelation and Kiltopia, some combination of those we'll say are our collective recommendation.
Yes.
X-Men, or maybe it's X-Men 23 and Kiltopia are our collective recommendations. Thank you for everybody who has stuck with us through this whole thing. And I'm going to go ahead and try something a little bit different. I'm going to say right now, don't wait for me to remember next time to ask you for your members' suggestions of comic books that we can discuss on a comic book catch-up. Go now to the Discord, to the members-only channel, and say, hey, I would like you guys to talk about this comic book next time. You can do it
Yes,
now while you're
please.
thinking of it. Don't wait for me to remember or someone else to remember. We always want to hear from you. We always want to know what comic books you are reading and checking out. And if there's too many there, then we will deal with that problem in the future. But let's not worry about a problem that hasn't arisen yet. So yeah, please go ahead and if you are not yet a member, you can, for a mere $5 a month or more, go to the link in the description, become an official member of Systematic Ecology, provide us with a little bit of financial support that goes into helping to edit these shows, prepare them to go online, all the hosting costs and all those good things. It's not going into my pocket. It's not buying us our comic books. It is paying so that you can hear these shows or see some of us in person at various events that you might be able to see us in person at. And yeah, so go ahead and do that. Again, like and subscribe. If you like this video in particular, Will will go through on his promise/threat to herald Galactus in a North Carolina community near some of you. Again, please let us know what you're reading, what you thought about this episode, what you thought about the comics that we talked about, and what other comic books you are enjoying. And we will look forward to discussing that with you on Discord and next time on a comic book catch-up episode. And until then, remember, if you're going to geek, do it systematically.